Hello, my Leo friends. This is Dr. Shiny. I have a tarot reading for the month of April for you. I am considering whether or not I will go to 2 tarot readings a month and do a mid-month reading as well. Please leave me some comments if you think that's a good idea, or if you prefer just a monthly, let me know. I'm going to get straight into your reading today for my Leos. We have, for your current situation, the Six of Coins. And the Six of Coins represents a period of, I don't want to say exorbitant wealth or anything like that, but this represents a period where somebody has their life together in such a way that it's time to like help somebody else with their problems and that type of thing. It could be charity in the financial sense, but in whatever way, one person has sort of achieved or stocked up enough success that now it's time for them to pay it forward a little bit. And you might be the person receiving this or the person giving it. It's hard for me to make that assumption in a general reading like this, but it feels as though you may be the person who's receiving it to me, but again, I can't really make that call on a general reading. That card in specific is known to have a really dualistic sort of meaning to it. Your current, or what's crossing you, is the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords is somebody who, because of his thoughts, just sort of acts or says something without thinking, brings something out into the open, into the air, without really considering the consequences of those actions, or the consequences of planting that thought in somebody else's or your own head, right? So you're just, you're so convinced that this thought or idea that you have of the future is what you need, that you just completely block out all the consequences and things that come with it. It's like making a wish for like $1 million, but not considering whatsoever that the genie might have tricked you, and that $1 million comes from like a bunch of poor people or something like that. You know what I mean? So there's like a double-edged sword with everything. Where you came from, or what got you here, was the Empress, which is an indication of sort of like the divine feminine, and also grounding. So this could mean that in order for you to work on your own mental stability, or to feel safe and secure, you had to develop this process of grounding, of relying on your senses, the 5 senses, especially. Excuse me. But you had to do that, and it served you very well. It served to ground you, to get your head sort of out of the clouds and on a road. But there's also balance that needs to occur too. There's a masculine aspect has to be brought into it, and just because something worked really well for you in the past doesn't mean that it's something that you're supposed to use exclusively all the time. We all need a variety. We need a variety of emotional tools and mental tools in our bag, so that we are prepared for multiple situations. You know, forming an identity and nourishing that particular identity can often do more harm than good. If you let it flow freely, you're free to sort of take and leave behind things as they suit you, you know. Some cultures place a high value on being yourself, whatever that is, you know what I mean? Like, some people think that it means to always stay the same, but yourself is something that's always changing. It's something that's always evolving and becoming better, right? So when people try to bring you down with that, what they're really trying to say is, you know, stay the way that I thought you were, you know. So don't do that. Resist that. Now, in your future, you have the Ace of Swords. And this indicates that, like, if you can get over how this Knight of Swords can sometimes get himself into trouble, back himself into a corner, but not really considering the situation fully. If you can get over that, you can use this as sort of a tool for new thoughts and ideas all the time. And once you develop or unlock that ability and you think, oh my goodness, I don't have to feel this way, then it sort of comes out torrentially. New thoughts and new ideas pop up all the time. Those thoughts, however, are just as double-edged as the old thoughts. So just because you have some degree of freedom, that's relieving your spirit. That's allowing you to be happy again. And so when you are learning to be happy again, that's the time when you need to sort of like work on yourself and build a better you, a better version of yourself that is going to be more attractive to people and wealth and good situations. It's just hard to do that when you're in a down place, you know what I mean? So it's a good situation. But what's the foundation of the situation here is the Two of Wands, which is sort of meaning that you have like a really, there's a balance, there's like a tug of war almost, and you're at a place to where you're just now waking up to the fact that whatever your dream was, whatever your vision was, comes with a lot of things that you didn't necessarily consider would have to come along with it that were part of the territory in a way. And coming to that realization can really devastate some people because they, you know, their vision, their dream is gone, you know. But I find that to be really sad and unfortunate because if you can just sort of learn to adapt your vision or, you know, discount the things that aren't possible and then move on to looking for something else that is possible, you'll, every time, 100% of the time, if you can do that, if you can engage in that process, you will find everything is more enjoyable than you thought it was. And then when you find that everything was more enjoyable than you thought it was, you become a little less picky. You become more open and willing to experience new things, and new things start coming your way. And then before long, you notice that you had essentially been trying to force yourself to be happy with a horrible situation, and you become so glad that you didn't, because so much better stuff is out there waiting for you. So if you're not happy, let it go. You know what I mean? Let the situation go. It wasn't suiting you. It wasn't going to work, you know? Something else is better out there, and it was just preventing you from getting to that, you know? The what's on your mind, the higher thought process is the Four of Coins, and the Four of Coins indicates that you achieved some degree of success in the material world, like your position, your home life, your possessions or something. You achieved some degree of happiness, and because you'd gone maybe such a long time without those things, when you get them, all of a sudden you become like really protective and really afraid that you're going to lose them. You have like a fear of abandonment. You create these scenarios in your head of abandonment, which are they're counterproductive because they are making you be in a bad mood, and they're making people not want to be around you because they can't do anything to keep you from being in a bad mood. So you sort of bring them down, and it's just a bad situation. So this is how clinging to a vision can really, really make everything in your life worse. If you just sort of like let it go and realize that you can be happy in any moment, in any situation, you know, even no matter how bad things are, you can choose to go on. You know, you can choose to live your life and build something new, inspire people, even if it's just to help people not make the mistakes that you made. There's always a way, a light at the end of the tunnel, always. And your advice for the current situation is the Seven of Cups. So the Seven of Cups means pretty clearly that a lot of times people will present you with all these really appetizing options, or they'll say nice things to you, but it's a way of getting what they want out of you. It's sort of a you can't believe everything that people say. I find a lot of people get upset in relationships because they are still sort of expecting the person to be the version of him or of themselves, the other person. They're expecting them to be the version of themselves they told you that they were at the beginning. Let me rephrase that. You are expecting the person you entered the relationship with to be the person they told you they were, you know, to be the person that they tried to sell you on, to say, look, be with me, I'm great, right? And so now they're showing you with their actions that they're maybe not as great as they said they were, and it's upsetting. You feel betrayed, you feel hurt, but at the same time, too guilty to consider leaving them. You know, you feel like you've got your share of problems and that they're good for even putting up with you, that type of thing. But that's just one specific example as it pertains to relationships. I know not all of you are going through relationship difficulties or things like that. Your current environment is the Queen of Swords. This is somebody who is extremely in tune with the intellect, right? This is somebody who is thinking things through on physical terms, like I can't do this because it's not a good idea, or it's not what I want to do. You know, they're a person who specifically has, out of all the other Swords characters, has the appearance that they lacked any real emotion, that they don't really care. You care a lot more than you perceive this person to care. They seem cold, calculated, and what's important, the important energy about that card in the situation is that they are not as cold and calculating as they really appear to be. They know that by acting that way, they can provoke the response that they want from you. So in other words, they may be acting cold because they're trying to teach you a lesson, or because they want you to act a certain way. They don't want to have to be the one that does it. But the queens are subtle influencers. They're people who get their way by sort of influencing, even manipulating, or inspiring people to behave or to not behave in the way that they are acting. So sometimes the Queen of Swords very much is hurt, cares about the situation, but she doesn't display that at all. She completely puts on a stiff upper lip and tries to teach you a stern lesson that, like, you've got to be harder or people are going to take advantage of you, that kind of thing. And what is in your fears is the Two of Coins. And the Two of Coins is a balancing act, a juggling act, taking two different positions back and forth at the same time. And this being in your fears, it suggests that you're not really considering middle ground very much. You're very extremist right now. So for you, it's either you're going to have this vision and be happy, or you're not going to have that and you're just going to be miserable, right? You're not considering anything in between. You're not considering that even though something may be really bad or something bad may happen, out of that situation, your will is freed up to a degree to where you can pursue something that could make you even happier. Because let's face it, you have not been totally happy or totally sad. There have been moments of happiness, even if they're small, even if it's just a glance out the window that makes you feel nostalgic. In that moment, you are happy again. And you have to learn to hold on to those feelings and to learn how to feel them all the time, or on command at least, to be able to shift your mental state and find middle grounds, to not go for the absolute tip of the scale either way. The overall message for you is the Temperance. And the Temperance card is very appropriate for what we've been talking about. This is about, and even in the card you can see there's a little mask that's happy, a little mask that's sad, or maybe those are umbrellas or something. But there's also a mixing of fire and water, and the sun and the moon are represented there with opposite colors mixed together, a red sun and a blue moon. Or I mean a red moon and a blue sun, sorry. But so this is the idea that, let's say your favorite thing is fire, right? If your favorite thing is fire, uh, well, let me put it a different way. If you're cooking something on the stove and there's like a fire in the stove and you throw water on it, the stove goes up really high, right? So there's this way of mixing emotions, mixing alternate ideas, mixing the extremes of two different ideas, or the same idea, the extreme on one end and the extreme on the other. If you mix them together, you come up with something in the middle that's better than both of those extremes, or maybe better than both of those extremes. Temperance is about taking your really, really intense emotions, the parts of you that you may even come to look at as plagues or as an affliction, and finding the sort of opposite of that and learning a balance, and through learning that balance, you're able to use those intense emotions, the intense aspects of your personality, you're able to use those as a tool and channel them effectively. And it makes you an incredibly powerful person. And being a powerful person doesn't mean that you have to always exercise your power over others. The best way to be powerful is to give up power, is to relinquish power to other people. That's what really makes you powerful. You know what I mean? And it may be just in more of an existential type of way, but it's still important because it does something to your mentality. It makes you feel powerful, you know? And if you feel powerful, you are. And it's as simple as that. So temperance is always a good thing. Temperance is, I mean, there are very few situations where you really want to drop the temperance. This is sort of saying everything in moderation. So this is saying don't feel ashamed of any of the feelings that you feel. Don't feel guilty. Instead, take those emotions, try to get to the center of them. Why do they feel? Why does it feel that way? What is it that you're upset about? And a lot of times, also remembering the middle ground, remembering that there is, between every two people and their versions of heaven, there is a third idea that both of them will probably like more than what either of the other people imagine by themselves, right? That's the idea, that our imagination is limited compared to reality. Reality is always more complex, more better, right? So you imagine the world that has all the things that you would enjoy, but what you don't recognize is that along with that comes more things that other people would enjoy that you don't know how to enjoy. So that's the way, if you sort of work together to bring your dreams to reality with people and working with other people, you gain a tremendous amount of joy and happiness from that process. So it's very important. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next month. Until next month, this is Dr. Shiny.